Good evening, everybody, and welcome to BIMChat. My name is Dineo Promodise, and as you know, today we'll be chatting to sports broadcaster and South African basketball legend Quintin Denyssen. So it's going to be quite an insightful evening chatting to him. Let's just try and see if you can join. Make sure that you guys post any questions that you have for Quintin. Let's see if you can join. Good evening, Quintin.
Hello. How are you now? I'm good, and you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
My absolute pleasure. Looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun.
Definitely. You are a sportscaster and a South African basketball legend. I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting getting to know about your journey and how you started as a basketball player back in the days.
It's different, right? Because now you're the one asking the questions, and I'm on the other end of the seat. I think I prefer your position, where I'm asking the questions and I let the other person narrate. Now I have to play narrator to my own story, and should be fun. I don't get the chance to talk too much about it, so I'm actually looking forward to it.
So let's start in the very beginning when you actually started playing basketball for the first time. When was that?
Do I have to start with the years? Because you know how ballers are. You know what I'm saying? We try to run away from age because we believe that we all drink from the fountain of youth. But 16 years old, essentially, traditional South African school. So the sports that are predominantly played at school: rugby, cricket at the school that I was at, and no real basketball offering. I was fortunate because at that stage in the province, the Metro Basketball League was running. They had some really good structures. So they'd structured from junior basketball all the way up. And at 16, you could play in the Metro League. And at under 16, there was a club in Boksburg. At the time, it was a Portuguese club, and the Portuguese were pretty good. And organizationally, in terms of their just social sports. So I got involved there, got my first bit of formal coaching, and literally I made the transition from playing the traditional South African sports, rugby, cricket, which I was pretty good at, and then started playing some basketball. So I picked up a ball, and that's kind of where the love affair started. Before that, I just played at home. I had a hoop at home. My parents helped foster some of it, but my first formal playing started when I was 16.
And also moving forward.
Just to answer, I see some questions here. So yeah, I'm about to be 40. So that's the answer. I will. I'm not 40 yet, but the fountain of youth is real.
The fountain of youth is definitely real. And you also made quite a name for yourself when you played back in varsity. What was one of your fondest moments of playing varsity basketball?
Wits University. That was I think at Wits, to single out any memories is pretty tough because I spent a long time at Wits, more than most students actually. I enjoyed it because we were the premier sport on campus, right? So you must think in the varsity realm, to be at one of the premier institutions in the province, and then also to be one of the top sports at the campus was a little bit mind-blowing because I was an 18-year-old. I wasn't exposed to too much in terms of, I was in an all-boys school, so I ended up coming into this campus. There's 20,000 people. I knew that I wanted to play ball. I had dreams of trying to go across to the United States to try and play, and just preceding that, we'd had a tour to the US. The now defunct United Schools Basketball League was the USBL at the time. Put together a tournament, and they invited schools from Zimbabwe. They put together a Joburg super team that included the likes of Joseph Mazibuko and Yakalo Ntupeng, just to name a couple of guys who were part of the national team at the time. So that team then went across 7 guys. We got a chance to go and tour the US. So we went New York upstate, started in New York, went up to Connecticut, and played about 8 games. We managed to win about 4 of them, and got a look in at a little bit of a scholarship. That never really materialized. So I came back with hoop dreams, and the only place that I figured could help foster those dreams was Wits. So got to Wits, and that was where it all started. I think if you want to ask me about favorite memories, I think favorite memories was there was a tournament that happened, and it only happened once at Wits. It was in my first year. It's called Super 7, right? So they took the top 7 teams in the province, and it was a precursor to any play that was going to happen in the Campus Basketball League at the time, or the Metro Basketball League. And they put this at the Matrix courts, and then they got YFN involved. So they brought in all the top talent in terms of DJs. They built a stage, and they let the top 7 teams shoot out for the prestige of being known as the best team in the province. We got all the way to the final. We lost, but that whole tournament, the vibe, the craziest memory that I have is we're playing the final, and I think we're playing against, it was All Stars or the Igoli Magic. I think it was the Igoli Magic. And DJ Reddy D, famous hip-hop DJ out here, was playing the set at halftime. You're supposed to play a 10-minute set. It's a competitive game, and we're getting involved, and it's tight. I think it's a 2 or 3 point game. Reddy D is supposed to play 10-minute set. He ended up playing for 30 minutes. The coaches couldn't even get upset because everybody got up. They got involved, and it was crazy because after that you had to get back on. We lost. I don't know if we lost because everybody was dancing or we wasted too much energy, but it's a memory that lingers with me. And if we were to go into competitive memories, I think you have to ask me specific questions because there are just so many years, as we say, to talk about it.
As long as you've shared what you feel like you remember the most, then I feel like you've basically nailed it.
All right. Yeah, it's interesting because there's so much that one wants to say about the game from a player perspective. Because I mean, you're speaking to me now about being a player, so I can chronicle what the South African basketball landscape looked like from the from the late 90s, from what some people would call the dark period, because when I picked up a ball, and I said this when I was 16 years old, in 1998 was the period where the Professional Basketball League was was supposed to start flourishing. They'd had sponsorships from Allied Bank, that had Telkom, the Sowetan, they were well covered, and a young 18-year-old kid was being looked at by the Igoli Magic. I'd started to get this look in, so now professional basketball prospects are about to happen, and then bang, gone. All of a sudden, there's a court case between federation and professional body, and basketball activity stops. Almost like what's happening now. We thought we were going to have freedom here in these COVID times, and all of a sudden, wool gets yanked over your eyes, and you're not allowed to leave the house. So kind of like that. That's what happened, and now you're not able to play professional basketball, but the Campus Basketball League exists. So the Campus Basketball League was the CBL, and that was an institution-based competition. So in order for you to play in the CBL, and I see there's a question here from Emerentia about the Campus Basketball League. So how they would do it was regional qualification. So you get all the top institutions in the region, and they play out for the right to represent their region in the Campus Basketball League. So you take the top 2 institutions at Gauteng, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, Cape Town, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, Mpumalanga, wherever you can, and you guys would all, every weekend, then play. I think they played coastal and inland initially, but you just knew that every Friday you're going to get on the bus and a central location, and you're going to go and play some basketball. So if you want to talk about some great memories, the Campus Basketball League, especially, and that was in my first year at Wits University, it would then go on for 2 more years. And then we lost that as well because of the state of administration, because of the state of things that had fallen out in the game. But Campus Basketball League was amazing because the competition was crazy. Not only inter-tertiary competition, just the inter-squad competition. To be on your first team at your varsity meant a lot to the players that were playing at the time. So that I think, good memory, also just a little bit of basketball history for those who may or may not know, and I'm trying to cover some of the stuff here.
And how do you think?
I see.
No, go ahead.
I'm looking at the questions as well. Rorisang Ricky is asking you, what got you thinking when you picked up a basketball? Why basketball and not any other sport? To answer that question, basketball just, I moved up quicker in basketball than I did in any other sport. So I played provincial rugby at the time, and I played some provincial cricket, and those were primary sports. But I got into my first provincial tournament and played for the Gauteng team, and then got into the national team squad at the time. I think it was the first one. There was what was it? Was it SASU or USASA? There were 2 national teams. There was one that I got cut from. They then went and played in Zambia. I don't know if they won or lost. I was a little bit bitter. You know what I'm saying? I'm a competitor. So that drove me to try and make the next team. And then I got chosen for the under-18 team that went to play in the African Championships. And we went to Egypt that year. They called it our baptism of fire. We ended up losing out to Angola by 3 points. Ended up 4th in that competition. But that is what cemented my love for the game. The first part was making that national team, and then traveling and getting to see what the basketball actually looked like. It helped with the prestige of the game, understanding that this game can now take me across into the continent. I was exposed to different cultures. And then the second thing was, wow, just the level of exposure. It was crazy. So I got to represent my country.
Yeah.
And once the prestige of that hit, I was like, there's just nothing else that I want to do. So that's where I was.
And what would you say needs to be implemented in order to kind of like grow basketball in South Africa?
You are asking that question needs to be put in phases, because there's a lot that needs to be done. But everybody knows that it starts with administration, and the larger picture means that Basketball South Africa has got to get it right from the head, because everything leads from the head in terms of basketball. If Basketball South Africa is not recognized by FIBA or FIBA Africa, then we cannot compete continentally. And if Basketball South Africa don't get it right, we can't go searching for sponsors. I don't think that searching for sponsors is the right answer. The answer to South Africa's basketball conundrum lies in the community. We have to build the trust within the community, because our basketball community has enough members with fingers in many different pots and pies who are just itching for a reason to come back to the game. But them, like a lot of us, we are, disillusioned slightly because the administration has beat it into us, but we're trying to find different ways of, circumventing what has been a cause of frustration. So we're trying to problem solve and trying to find solutions. And while we're trying to find solutions, the years keep on ticking by, and it's not resulting in great implementation. So I don't know that there's a real quick fix answer, but administration gets it right. And that means finding a model that works within our thing. You can't just cut and paste an Australian basketball model. Can't cut and paste something that works in Ghana or Senegal or the US. You have to make it work in our unique sports and cultural dynamic. And now for sports administrators, it's going to be something different, because COVID is going to change the way that we interact socially and also the way that we consume media. Even this live is an example of us adapting to a new way of socializing and a new way of engaging. So how that's going to impact our consumption of sports is going to be really interesting in the long run. So how South African basketball is going to come out of this, I hope in this behind the scenes, I'm secretly praying that the administrators are working hard on trying to fix some of the wrongs that have occurred, because we have no better time. There's no competition happening. It's a chance for us to try and clean the slate and get it right. We're the only ones who can do it are the people involved in administration and maybe some former players. Emma's asking another question right now.
I was just
do you
about
think
to
former
read it.
players former players have a role to play in rebuilding the game in South Africa? Yao Ming is the president of the Chinese Basketball Federation. Did they get it right? I absolutely believe that former players have got a big role, Emma, to play, because you look at what South Sudan have done. We don't even have to look at China. We have to look at African countries. South Sudan have now voted in Luol Deng as their president. And they did that because he's the most prestigious player, but he also comes with a set of business acumen and expertise that he will be able to. First of all, he immediately impacted their program, because they were able to draw 9 internationals who were playing in various leagues and bring them back to play for their country and represent them in qualifiers. And then secondly, he can invoke confidence of business because of his stature and his role. And then he will galvanize loose factions that may exist politically within the South Sudan Basketball Federation. I think something like that can happen here as well. I see there are some calls, and I'm going to say it here, for Neo Matiba, and he still wants to play and he's a competitor. But I've seen some calls for him to get involved in administration, and he's probably one of the best fits. So even yourself there, Ms. Emerentia Ledwaba, as a woman who's played the game at the highest level for the longest time, the switch, our mindset has got to change from playing, and it's very difficult, because even me now, I still enjoy playing and I enjoy competing, but our mindset has got to move from the playing side of it to how we can help foster an environment for people who have not had the chance to enjoy the game the same way we have, and get some of these opportunities. There should be more opportunities, but it's a strange phenomenon, because it seems like the game is growing. We're seeing more players, but we're not seeing the quality of players that are going. Ball in motion is playing a good role as well. They're trying to foster good fundamental coaching, good programs that feed into each other. But we can't have too many different factions. And we also can't have hive minds. So the synergy that must exist, because you don't want to kill the entrepreneurial side of the game, but not too much money making. As long as the game continues to grow in the right way, I think we will find an answer somewhere there. How this looks structurally, again, it's idealizing it. I'm not sitting in an administrative position where I must now sit down and actually structure something formal. But that I think is a way forward for South African basketball in general. That was a long answer.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But how important do you think media is in growing basketball in the country?
Media will always have a role to play, you hope. But this is the thing about the way that we consume things now. Influencer, the whole way we consume media, there's more eyes on screens, but what screens are being watched? Where do you go to in order to find reliable sources? What do you find out? Where do you find your news from? How do you consume your sport? Media has changed. So us as marketers or people who are involved in sport, you have to figure out what it means to put eyes on the game and where those eyes are, because that role is what traditional media gave us. It gave us a central place where you can go and consume the products that you enjoy. That's changed because there are just so many different devices and different eyes that you have to learn to figure out which ones you trust and which ones give you your kind of view. Whatever the role of the media is that you just have to put the right eyes in the right place, and hopefully enough people watch, and give the talent that works hard the platform it deserves to shine.
Lishula Manyehlisa here has a question. He says, have you thought about getting involved in the structures of South African basketball?
I have thought about it, and I will get into it eventually. I'm just honestly chasing some other entrepreneurial dreams that I first want to accomplish, because one lesson I learned the hard way, and I was involved in the administration of one of the BNL teams, and the lesson I learned the hard way was that, unfortunately, you have to have a strong power base, whether it is financial or political, in order for you to have any real impact in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So when those things exist and you're able to have real sway in the boardroom, then I will definitely get involved in an administrative capacity, and it will be to ensure that the game is grown in the right way, because there are so many people who care about the purity of the game growing, who have no real agenda, who just want to see, and it's not just we should just let us play. It's, you know, ensuring that the right fundamentals are in place, they're good coaching, we have good officials and technical staff, you know, that the game is carried with the right spirit. But all of this also costs money. So, you know, trying to figure out when to come in is going to be a difficult thing. But I think it's getting closer and closer before we make a real formal entry into it. But it's definitely a thought, and I don't think it's too far away.
Do you have any ideas on how we could actually grow the financial structures needed for these clubs and associations within the basketball community?
I gave you the primary idea is that the basketball community is very educated, and you have guys who are in influential positions who are just itching for the right person to back. Now, our job is to ensure that you put the right people in those administrative positions that will get the confidence of the general basketball community. It'll always be factionalized. There's not one community in the world, not one sporting community, not one business community, not one religious community that doesn't have factions. But if you find someone that can just galvanize the majority, and that's the way democracy works. It's not the way capitalism works, but it's the way democracy works. You find that one galvanizing force, we should be okay. But build the confidence of the basketball community to back itself, because we have enough individuals who can self-fund and run this game.
And now moving forward to where you are right now, from all the exposure that you've gotten as a player and on the administrative side of basketball, you know, you are now hosting a show on Friday on Vision View Sports Radio. From 1 to 3, you are feeding us content from across the globe, from basketballs in schools, NBA. So how did you actually get inspired to get into sports broadcasting?
Sports broadcasting was, I guess it was a gap that was identified, that I had identified, and I thought I could fill the role of an analyst because I enjoy watching the game. I enjoyed playing it, and I was like, you know what? Because of the state of administration, I don't really want to play anymore. I accomplished everything that I'd wanted to in terms of wins locally and some of the exposure that I got. And so I was like, okay, this is where I think I can fill a gap. The funny thing was that I didn't think it's a contradictory thing, because I'm a bit introverted by nature. So it doesn't quite work well when you're trying to be a broadcaster, right? But they say trial by fire, and I still think I should apologize to people who watched the initial start of the BNL. Look, it is what it is. We've all grown. I think you learn and you become more comfortable as time goes on. But I'd wanted to do analyst role. I'd never dreamed that commentary was going to be part of it. It was really hard. It was proper trial by fire. But eventually you get comfortable. Eventually you learn the skills that are needed, and then you start to learn to enjoy work, and then that's part of life, right? You know, first I think you got to go through the birthing pains. Think of it as a fitness journey. You know, when you start out of shape and the exercises are a bit hard, but eventually, you know, you can find joy in the pain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And now, just before we let you go, do you have any word of advice to basically any athlete out there who's an aspiring basketball player, or anyone who wants to get into sports as a career?
My advice is, there's so many pearls of wisdom I can drop, but the one that I think about most is set your bar really, really high. I think one of my regrets is that when I played, I could have set my ceiling or my bar a little bit higher as a player in terms of what I'd wanted to accomplish. And looking back, because I accomplished what I set my bar out to be, it was like, maybe I should have set it a little higher. You know, so dream big. Don't be scared to chase really ridiculous. They call them BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, right? So don't be scared to chase them, but also don't be scared to work hard for them. There is no amount of talent that can outwork anybody. So where you feel you're lacking, just go out there, work extremely hard. Because I was never the most talented player, and never will be the most talented player to ever have stepped on the South African basketball court. But I do know that I worked my ass off in order to get some of the stuff that I want. I put a lot of time in behind the scenes, and no matter what retrospect I have in terms of my career now, I can tell you that there were many, many hours spent sweating, working on skills, just refining one or two things that I believe would help me against my competitors. And if you take that mindset into any workplace or anything as a sportsman, just know that nobody can outwork you. The extra hours you put in will pay off. They show, and they really do show on the basketball court in ways that you can't imagine.
Thank you, Quintin. It's been such an amazing experience getting to talk to you for the past few moments. Thank you so much for the opportunity of getting to know you and getting to know the experiences that you've had within the basketball culture.
I really appreciate that. I see Sakile is from the Josie Nuggets, and he's saying some of the goals for most teams are just to beat the Josie Nuggets, and he's not lying. You know, Josie Nuggets have set a high bar, but I think after what happened this year, the Josie Nuggets just need to go back to the drawing board. It was a tough one out there. You know, the Phoenix put it on you. Just gotta let you know. Just feel like after 3 years, it was a lot of fun to be out there at the final. But it's been a pleasure just being here on Ball in Motion. I love the work that you guys are doing for the game. You're on the ground. You're trying to affect change the right way. Keep the good work up, and it's a collaborative effort. Whatever we're trying to do here can't be done in silos. If you are working well in a silo, there's nothing wrong with sharing some of your knowledge, because not everybody is going to be able to do it the way that you do it. I think the basketball community must galvanize, and we will all win post-corona, because we have some time here.
Well said, Quintin. And just before we go, I think a last question. G2G Basketball Academy says, how do you get support for funding girls programs? Yeah, for funding girls program.
That is a question that I really don't have an answer for. It depends on where the program is, right? Because depends on what the nature of G2G is. If it's an academy, you know, how it's registered. There are a lot more details that are required in order to go and search for funding, right? So it's not a quick recipe, one-fit-all answer. But there are plenty of opportunities, especially for girls basketball academies. It's unique, and I think there'll be a lot of interested parties out there who would be willing to back them.
Absolutely. Once again, Quintin, thank you, and I hope that you'll have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Dineo, and thanks to everybody who did take the time to just at least view this little live.
Yes, and to everyone that's still watching, please make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're definitely going to put this BIMChat on there, so anyone that might have missed it at this time will get the opportunity to do so.
And when I do get back out of this what do we call it? I don't know. Incarceration. It's an incarceration. We're in jail out here. You catch me on the Full Court Press every Friday. 1 to 3 p.m. Vision View Sports Radio. You download that app, and I give you basketball from a South African perspective.
Great stuff, man. Thank you, Quintin.
Thank you, Julia.